If you've been stuck trying to pass prop firm challenges and you finally want to break through, get funded, and start getting consistent payouts, then this video is for you. I'm going to break down the exact system that I use to pass all types of prop firm challenges. It doesn't matter if it's consistency rule, no consistency rule, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you exactly how to pass them and how to approach them. Not only that, at the end I'm going to give you the strategy that I use to consistently pass these challenges. And so with that, let's go and look exactly at how I do it. I'm going to break it down in multiple steps. Passing in one day, or having a consistency rule on the challenge. Also going for the cheapest challenge out there or for the most flexible. And then I'm going to give you a strategy to follow. Now, this is something that I'm doing on Funded Next because they have the most amount of versatility, either CFDs or also on futures, where you have the Flex Challenge, which is the cheapest. By the way, with code Kimmel, you'll always get the best discount code. The Legacy Challenge, which is giving you the best possible payouts, and no consistency rule on the funded account, but because of that you're going to have the consistency rule on the challenge, and I'm going to show you exactly how to go about it. And then you have the Rapid Challenge, which basically allows you to pass in one single day in case you want to go with a little bit more risk. Obviously you're going to have the consistency rule on the funded, and again, in all of these I'm going to talk about how to pass the challenge and also how to get that payout, because I know a lot of you might pass the challenge but you want to get those consistent payouts. And last but not least, we have the Bold Challenge, which is the most flexible, where you can pretty much create your own plan. Now, first I want to talk about their Legacy Challenge. The Legacy Challenge is the one that you have the consistency rule on the challenge. So the way that I approach this is very, very simple. My average risk to reward on a position is 1 to 2 risk to reward, and I get multiple trades every single week. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate what the consistency rule is. How much money can I make in one specific day? By the way, I always recommend you going for the 50 case. So I have the profit target of $3,000 and the consistency rule is 40%. So I know that at maximum I'm able to make $1.2 thousand on one single day. So what am I going to do? Given that my profit target usually is 1 to 2 risk to reward, I'm going to be risking $600 per trade, and I'm going to be targeting that 1 to 2 risk to reward. I'm going to target the consistency rule as much as I can so that I maximize each day that I'm in this challenge. So I'm going to be risking $600 and I'm going to be targeting the consistency rule, which is going to be $1.2 thousand. And here's the thing. Prop firms are for traders who are already profitable, and you should not be going for a prop firm challenge that you are not willing to lose. And so therefore, when I look at the prices, which by the way, with code Kimmel, you always get better than $149. I look at a challenge where if I lose it, I don't overthink it. And so therefore, risking $600 is more than fine by me. I risk $600 and I target a 1 to 2 risk to reward. And this doesn't matter how much the consistency rule is. My goal is every single day target the limit of the consistency rule. So that is how I approach the challenge on the consistency rule. And then on the funded account, by the way, I want to give myself as much room as possible. Through my data, I know that I don't lose more than 8 trades in a row. And so on the funded account, I'm going to be risking $250, which is $2,000 divided by 8. This gives me $250 per trade. Now, here's the beauty. Some of you will look at this and say, Kimmel, that is not a lot of risk. Keep in mind, you have multiple prop firms, you have CFDs, you have futures, and you don't only stack one account. You stack multiple, 5, 10, 20 accounts, and then all of a sudden $250 per account times 20 accounts is actually $5,000, which is great risk because with a 1 to 2 risk reward you're gonna have a $10,000 trade. Now let's talk about challenges that is passing in one day. For the challenges where you are able to pass in one day, meaning you don't have a consistency rule, there's one of two people that go for these. Number one is people that have a lot of money and therefore they don't want to be in the challenge, they just want to jump into the funded account. And so they already know that they're going to full port this challenge. They're going to risk $2,000, they're going to target a 1.5 risk to reward, and they're going to try to pass it in one day. And then you have the other type of people that have a little bit of a higher risk to reward, and for them, they just don't want to have to worry about the consistency rule also on the challenge. They don't want to just be targeting the consistency rule. They want to be able to actually pass in 2 days without having to look at the consistency rule. So they would be risking about $500 to also $600 on the challenge, and they would be targeting whatever they target on a challenge phase. Now Now keep in mind, this is also a little bit of a more expensive challenge. So what you have to really understand is that you either have a lot of money, or really the best thing that you can do is go for the challenges that have the consistency rule on the challenge, because they're going to be cheaper up front. Now obviously all of these are cheaper with code Kimmel. Now you also have the flex challenge, which is the cheapest right now in the industry, but it's also going to have a smaller maximum loss limit. The profit target is also a little bit smaller, but the profit to drawdown ratio is actually quite high, and you have a consistency rule on the challenge. And on the Bolt, this pretty much you build your own challenge. You have a daily loss limit, you have a beautiful profit target. This is a great challenge, which for less than $100 you are able to make $12,000. Now obviously these are the two ones that I focus on the most. All of the other prop firms are going to have either one of these two, which is consistency rule on the challenge, which you already know that I divide how much money I can make in one single day, and I target a 1 to 2 risk to reward when I'm on the challenge. And the ones where it's passing in one day, and I'm either going to try to pass it in one day depending on the price of the challenge, or I'm going to be risking $500 and simply trading normal. So this is how I approach the challenges if they have the pass in one day or consistency on the challenge. Now let's talk about getting paid. At the end of the day, that is exactly what you want. You want to get paid. And for me, it's very simple. I'm never going to risk too much on the funded accounts. And so therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to risk a small enough amount that it will allow me to go at least through 5 losing trades in a row, which pretty much very rarely happens. And given the fact that I'm not risking a lot, the consistency rule is never really going to be a big problem. Why? Because if I'm stacking $800 days across 5 accounts, that is $4,000 a day that I'm making only on funded next with pretty much minimal risk. And I already know that in order to have a substantial payout, I'm going to need at least 1 to 2 risk to reward trades. So the consistency rule never really becomes an issue when we are on the funded stage. What I do want to say is that you need to treat the funded stage as something way more precious than you do the challenges. Because on the funded stage, if you blow the account, you just lost the opportunity to make money. While on the challenge, you can just start over, right? On the funded, once you lose the funded account, this is why I risk less, by the way. If you blow it, you have to go back to the challenge where you cannot make any money. And so therefore, I just recommend you going a little bit more careful on the funded accounts. Now, let's talk about the exact strategy that I follow to consistently pass these challenges. Now, the strategy is going to be so simple that even a beginner can execute on this. Now, first off is you always trade in line with the direction, which is the daily bias. You have to understand what is the market choosing to respect. And by understanding what the market is choosing to respect, you're going to have your direction / your daily bias. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that very, very soon. Then you're going to wait until 9:15 a.m. Eastern time, and you're going to identify the key levels in line with the direction, which means that if you are bullish, you are going to go on the 1 hour chart and you are going to identify the bullish key levels. All of this on the 1 hour chart. This is how we simplify it. We focus on one direction and we focus on one time frame to identify the key levels. Then at 9:30 a.m. you're going to wait for manipulation to that 1 hour key level. I will show you exactly what that looks like very, very soon. And then you're going to wait for the 5-minute engulfing at the key level, with which you are going to enter on the engulfing close, and you're going to target a 1 to 2 risk to reward. So let's see exactly how that goes. This strategy is incredibly simple, and the trades that I'm about to show you are trades that I actually took live in front of all of my students. Students that are getting funded in 90 days and finally stop feeling the confusion in the market. Friend Joe recently made 15,000 euros following this exact strategy. And if you want to know more about the mentorship, you can check the first link in the description. Now, the strategy is so simple because we always look in line with the direction. All of this is already going to make it incredibly simple for us to become profitable as traders. Now, one of the things that you can see on NASDAQ is that we're just moving to the upside. Now, a lot of traders recently have been getting ultra destroyed on the markets. Why? Because they look at the bullish market and they say it has to pull back. No, you always go in line with direction. Now, afterwards, at 9:15 a.m., so this is going to be the 9 a.m. candle, we're going to identify the key levels in line with the direction. So it's obvious that we're bullish. So therefore, I'm going to identify that we have a fair value gap and an order block and another order block right on the 1 hour chart. So we can see, I'm not telling you to look over 50 million timeframes. I want to keep it as least confusing as possible. I don't want you to have multiple variables when you're looking at the charts. This is very simple and it works. And the reason why you can apply apply this is because it is this simple. So we trade in line with the direction, we identify the key levels in line with that direction, so in this case all of the bullish key levels, and now what we want to see is that 9:30 a.m. manipulation to that key level. So we have 9:30 a.m. in which we manipulate to the 1 hour key levels, we have an engulfing, we execute, we put our stops below the low, and we're going to target a 1 to 2 risk to reward. By the way, this is something that I always recommend you doing on the micro charts, because like that you're going to have way more flexibility when it comes to risk management. And then you enter on the engulfing close. So literally we have everything, we're trading in line with the direction, we identify the key levels, we manipulated to them, we waited for the 5-minute engulfing, and now this is an entry at the 5-minute engulfing close, and we target a 1 to 2 risk to reward. And now we just let the trade go, and after some time the trade results in a beautiful win. Now let me show you how we've been doing this consistently, because this isn't a nitpick, this happens consistently over and over again in the charts. So once again, on the daily chart, are we not bullish? Yes, we are incredibly bullish on the daily chart, and therefore we're going to continue executing on the longs. So now we're going to go to the 1 hour chart, and we're going to wait for the 9:15 a.m. candle. So now we have the 9 a.m. candle. Let's identify all of the key levels. So right here, once again, we are at the 1 hour order block, nothing more. Right? So we have this move to the downside, which is a bullish order block. We have these two bearish candles, which are a bullish order block. We have another bullish order block right here. So we're marking out all of these. We wouldn't need to, because all of these are actually inside of this massive one move to the downside. And in this case, we actually have no fair value gaps. So now let's go into the 9:30 a.m. We wait for that nice engulfing. We enter, stops below the low, and we target a 1 to 2 risk to reward. So once again, we have absolutely everything. We have in line with the direction, 9:15 a.m. Eastern time, we identify the key levels. 9:30 a.m. we wait for that manipulation, which happened. We touch that 1 hour order block. We wait for the 5-minute engulfing. We have that, and now we enter with a target at a 1 to 2 risk reward. And a little bit after, the market resulted in a beautiful 1 to 2 risk reward. And yes, these were trades that I took live in front of everyone. This is not your standard mentorship. We pride ourselves on simplicity and focusing on direction over everything, because at the end of the day, direction is what matters in the market. And that is how you are able to consistently pass these challenges. You have the strategy and you understand the exact risk management that I use to pass these challenges. With that, hope you all enjoyed. Use code KEMAL with FundedNext right here, and check out how to scale to $10,000 per month with this video right here.